I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the November 16th, 2021 Rainbow District School Board meeting. Please be advised that this meeting is being live streamed and will be archived. The Rainbow District School Board would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Anishinaabe, including Atikamekw, Anishinaabeg, and Wahnapitae nations. We would like to acknowledge that we are situated within the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850, and we want to recognize the inherent rights of the Anishinaabe that maintain these lands from time immemorial. I'd like to begin by calling on Director Bourget for the roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. Trustee Dubosky? Trustee St. Jean?
Present.
Trustee Gibson?
Present.
Trustee Cosmerly?
Present.
Trustee Morrison?
Present.
Trustee Dewar?
Present.
Trustee Hunda?
Present.
Trustee Stringer?
Present.
Trustee Clement?
Present.
Student Trustee Yao?
Present.
Thank you very much. Approval of agenda. Motion that the agenda for the regular board meeting of November 16th, 2021 be approved. Moved by Trustee Hunda, seconded by Trustee Stringer. Poll vote, Director Bourget.
Trustee Clement?
In favor?
Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee Morrison?
In favor.
Trustee St. Jean?
In favor.
Trustee Stringer?
In favor.
And Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
All in favor, Chair Dewar?
Motion carried. Preliminary declarations of pecuniary interest. We have no presentations this evening. Report from the in-camera committee of the whole meeting of the board. There's been no in-camera meeting and therefore there is nil report. Previous minutes. Motion that the minutes of the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, October 26th, 2021 be approved. Could I have a mover, please? Trustee Morrison, seconded by Trustee Cosmerly. Poll vote, please, Director Bourget.
Trustee Clement?
In favor?
Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee Morrison?
In favor.
Trustee St. Jean?
In favor.
Trustee Stringer?
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao?
There we go. In favor.
All in favor.
Motion is carried. There are no tenders or requests for proposals and no reports and recommendations from board committees. So that brings us to the 2021-2022 school year update. And I'll call on Director Bourget.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. Trustees, in the last update, the COVID-19 case counts for public health subregion districts were increasingly rising. As we reviewed the data, we could see that with each successive week, the numbers were growing. Naturally, this is of concern to us because we know when COVID-19 increases in our community, as Dr. Sutcliffe says, it can increase in our schools. And at this time, Greater Sudbury is in the midst of a bit of a surge in COVID-19 cases. In fact, unfortunately, Public Health Sudbury Districts is recording the highest rate of active cases among all of Ontario's 34 health units, and the highest we've seen in our jurisdiction since the early days of the pandemic back in April 2020. Transmission has increased, especially in those aged 19 to 39, for whom vaccination rates are lower and case count rates are higher. Greater Sudbury is also experiencing a number of COVID-19 outbreaks. Again, when COVID-19 increases in the community, it can also increase in our schools, so we must remain vigilant. When confirmed cases are reported to us, we isolate classes very quickly to contain any potential spread, and we can thank Leslie Fisher, Superintendent, Communications, work of Nicole Charette for all their hard work in that regard each and every day. Let's take a look at our data since our last board meeting. From Thursday, October 21st to Wednesday, October 28th, there were 164 new cases reported, with 115 testing positive for a variant of concern. And there were 10 active COVID-19 outbreaks. At the end of the day on October 27th, there were 208 active cases in our service area. And the vaccination rate among 12 to 17-year-olds continues to increase, with dose 1 surpassing the 80% mark. Here's our quote from our local medical officer of health to put this into context. And she says, "The rise in cases we have seen in the last few weeks is alarming. We are currently at a COVID-19 hotspot in the province. COVID-19 surges can happen anywhere and can happen quickly. Public health staff works quickly to limit the spread of the virus, but our ability to do that is challenged when cases rapidly increase. Staff also rely on the full cooperation of everyone we need to contact and provide direction. And without this support, our ability to protect families, workplaces, and schools from further spread is threatened. I encourage all of you to think about your actions and consider the impact on our community. Choosing to get vaccinated if you are eligible remains critically important. However, using other protective measures also plays a key role in keeping cases low. In order to keep enjoying the benefits of the provincial reopening plan, we must strengthen our individual commitment to prevention. The pandemic has tested our resilience, and we're all looking forward to a day when this chapter in our lives is behind us. But until that time, however, it's important to remember we're all in this together, and our collective efforts will see us through. The growing case counts prompted our local medical officer of health to issue a special COVID-19 statement on Thursday, October 28th, 2 days after our last board meeting. The statement was accompanied by a class order under the Health and Protection Promotion Act, requiring all individuals in Public Health Sudbury District service area who are either a case, potential case, or contact of a case to follow public health direction. The order is enforceable by law and is posted on Public Health's website. In issuing the order, Public Health Sudbury Districts indicated that while the province is seeing improvements in COVID-19 case counts, trends in Greater Sudbury are going in the opposite direction, and these trends signal a call to immediate action. The direction in the order are the same directions that Public Health provides to individuals who are required to isolate. The difference is that if someone does not comply with that direction, Public Health can seek immediate enforcement under the law. Public Health provided further clarification to schools and indicated at the time that there may be situations where individuals who are fully vaccinated are required to self-isolate. This direction will be based on Public Health Sudbury District's assessment of individual cases. For the most part, Public Health guidance is based on immunization status. We followed up with Public Health to ensure direction in the school screening tool continues to align with the class order. Because as you know, students and staff are required to screen for COVID-19 daily before reporting to work or school. Our message has been consistent. If you're sick, stay home and get well. Public Health confirmed that the direction and the screening tool is indeed in line with the class order. Staff and students are to continue to follow the guidance in the online screener. And we also asked 2 additional questions to Public Health. First one was, are household contacts now required to isolate regardless of vaccination status if a student from their household is sent home who is deemed a close contact of a confirmed case at school? Public Health responded and indicated that household contacts are required to follow Public Health direction based on their investigation and assessment. Our second question was, will school, staff, and students' dismissal still be based on vaccination status, or will all close contacts be dismissed for the entire duration of the isolation period in all cases regardless of vaccination status? Public Health advised us that vaccination status will continue to be assessed and will inform the decision of the medical officer of health. Continue with some data. From Thursday, October 28th to Wednesday, November 3rd, there were 158 new cases reported in our region, with 110 testing positive for the variant. There were 12 active outbreaks, and at the end of the day on November 3rd, there was 190 cases in our area. The vaccination rate among 12 to 17-year-olds continues to rise steadily, with dose 1 over 80% and dose 2 inching up to 76%. Dr. Sutcliffe stated, locally we're seeing a concerning number of COVID-19 cases, and that means a significant amount of follow-up with people who've tested positive for the virus and their close contacts. She added, our collective resolve to follow COVID-safe behaviors is key to slowing down the spread of the virus. Unfortunately, it didn't take long for the rapid rise in COVID-19 cases to trigger additional mandatory measures in Greater Sudbury. Public Health, Sudbury districts met with local school boards and other community partners on Monday, November 8th. Later that day, new measures were unveiled, and these three time-limited measures came into effect at 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday, November 10th for Greater Sudbury only, and remain in effect until further notice. The letter of instruction required the following for Greater Sudbury: reinstatement of capacity limits and physical distancing requirements at premises that require proof of vaccination while preserving their proof of vaccination requirements. Businesses and organizations are to ensure masking at organized public events held indoors and outdoors where participants are within 2 meters of individuals not part of their households. And 3, anyone 12 years of age and older who actively participates in organized sports, not just coaches and officials, will be required to provide proof of vaccination unless a medical exemption applies. It's important to note that this additional requirement will be implemented for broader public health service area, which in our case includes Sudbury and Manitoulin, and this took effect on Monday, November 15th. Dr. Sutcliffe indicated the timing of the increases is aligned with the lifting of provincial protections beginning October 9th. Our local health unit has the highest case rates in the province, and she added the provincial plan to safely reopen Ontario requires local public health to monitor trends and to put in place additional protections as warranted. Obviously, no one wants to hear this news, but we need to turn back the clock and protect people and the health system. On Friday, November 5th, Public Health, Sudbury districts reached a milestone of over 3,000 cases of COVID-19 reported since the onset of the pandemic. The local medical officer of health added, "We're implementing these protections as a circuit breaker in an effort to interrupt chains of transmission within the community and to protect local businesses and workers by, we hope, avoiding any need for more drastic measures." She also indicated that our current situation is alarming now, but could get worse with the winter months and more indoor activities ahead of us. We're in a very different place than the rest of the province. Also adding, I'm appealing to everyone in Greater Sudbury to ramp up your COVID-19 protection actions, help us keep kids in schools, protect vulnerable individuals, and safeguard our health system capacity. The letter of instruction did prompt us to ask a few questions related to masking outdoors and school sports. Public Health confirmed that the letter of instruction does not apply to school sports, including intramurals or interschool, unless these sports are being played in a non-school recreational facility. And I would emphasize that the majority of our indoor sports are played in our own facilities, so this doesn't apply. But for some of our sports that are played at arenas or local fields, it does. And we're in compliance. The letter of instruction also does not apply to the rentals of school facilities by another school or school board. It does, however, apply if we were to have a rental in our school by a community group. And at this time, we're hoping to see the numbers subside before we open up community use. Of course, there's lots of interest in that, but we are prioritizing our own school activities and our student athlete activities at this time. Public Health also confirmed that there is no new specific requirements being introduced for student school masking at recess. The requirement will be for businesses and organizations to ensure masking at organized public events held indoors and outdoors, where participants are within 2 meters of each other and not part of their own households. So moving more into November, from Thursday, November 4th to Wednesday, November 10th, there were 254 new cases reported, 197 positive for the variant of concern, and in the region there were 19 active outbreaks. And at the end of the day, on November 10th, there were 270 cases that were active in our area. The vaccination rate for 12 to 17-year-olds continued to increase each week, dose 1 nearing 81% and dose 2 just shy of 77%. So slow and steady progress. On November 9th, we also shared the results of the Ontario Parent Survey conducted by Jeff Martin on behalf of the Ontario Parent Survey team at the Oford Centre for Child Studies at McMaster University with our school administrators. If anyone's interested, I'll be happy to share with the trustees. But the report confirms the impact the pandemic has had on the well-being of our students and our families. And you know our mental health school teams continue to work hard. This new data provides some insights into the important work we're doing in our schools to maintain as much normalcy as possible. Let me share a few of the findings with you from this study. And this is provincial data. The most significant findings show that almost 69% of parents reported some depressive symptoms within the last 7 days of completing the survey. And approximately 1/2 of caregivers reported having sought professional assistance at least once for their own mental health concerns since the pandemic started. Over 1/3 of respondents reported COVID had a negative impact on their children, specifically due to the lack of on-site schooling and the isolation it caused. And we said earlier how happy our students are to be back face-to-face and participating. So it certainly shows the importance of that effort by the results of this survey. Parents also reported considerable difficulty in managing their children's remote learning, screen time, and behavior. This study was conducted by McMaster and the Oford Centre for Child Studies. It was launched on May 4th and open until July 3rd. And the goal was to help understand what Ontario families and children have been experiencing in the context of COVID and what services families and caregivers may need. These findings certainly confirm what we already intuitively know about the struggles of those we support. Of interest to you may be the vaccination data on the board website. It was updated on November 15th, and it's updated once monthly as we move forward. Of those school board employees and trustees who have submitted attestation, 93.6% of individuals have attested being fully vaccinated. Others who are anytime regular school visitors or employees working are all working through the rapid antigen testing. We also updated the immunization disclosure administrative procedure on the board website to reflect the change of rapid testing from twice per week now is 3 times per week as of Monday, November 15th. Testing is now done on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Staff who are not fully vaccinated are required to complete rapid antigen testing. That includes staff with medical exemptions, and this is another layer of protection to stop the potential spread of COVID-19 in our schools. Rapid antigen testing is only for individuals who are asymptomatic. Anyone who has symptoms should seek testing at the local assessment center consistent with provincial testing guidance. A positive result on a rapid antigen test is considered a preliminary presumptive positive and requires confirmation with a PCR test. So let's review confirmed cases in Rainbow Schools. As you all know, a couple things are standard. When there's a confirmed case in our school, We ramp up cleaning and disinfecting, and at this time, all of our schools remain open. When students are asked to self-isolate, schools follow up to ensure continuity of learning. These are standard pieces that I won't share with each case. And for brevity, I will only mention the bus routes that are currently affected. So if some bus routes are no longer affected, I will not share those details. But I will go through some of the chronology. On October 28th, there was a confirmed case at R.H. Murray Public School. And by direction of public health, the students in the grade 2-3 class and the primary Ojibwe class were asked to self-isolate up to and including November 1st. Students were required to self-isolate regardless, in this case, of their vaccination status, and staff as well, until cleared by public health to return to work. On October 29th, there was a confirmed case at Ruth McMillan Center. By direction of public health, they required students and staff in the Applied Behavior Analysis and Northern Support Initiative program were to be tested and self-isolating up to November 6th. Guidance in that case was based on immunization status. And Jean Hansen Public School, which operates these programs I just mentioned, contacted families about continuity of learning. We also sent a letter to all families at Jean Hansen Public School to advise them that the confirmed cases at Ruth McMillan Center are reported under Jean Hansen. So we wanted to make sure no one thought that the case was in a different location. Jean Hansen oversees the program, so they're listed as the school, but it's actually a satellite site. And that's because Ruth McMillan is that satellite operated by Jean Hansen Public School. So we just wanted to make sure we're very clear with them. On October 29th, there's also a case at Lockerbie Composite School. And in this case, it was students and staff in the transportation technology and computer programming class who were self-isolating up to November 5th, again based on immunization status. The same day, there was a confirmed case at A.B. Ellis. Staff and students in the JKSK class were asked to self-isolate up to November 7th. Again, staff was based on immunization status. A second confirmed case at Lockerbie was reported to us on October 30th. Students and staff in the construction technology class were isolating up to and including November 1st. Again, based on immunization status, so if someone is immunized and they were asymptomatic, that means they can return. If they're not immunized, they were in quarantine. So I may refrain from repeating that because it applies to the majority of cases going forward. On October 31st, Public Health advised of a confirmed case at Lansdowne Public School. Students and staff in this case were in the 1-2-3 FI class. They were self-isolating up to November 8th. And that same day, there was also a case at Sudbury Secondary School. And in this part, it was construction technology class and expressions of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit cultures class, isolating up to and including November 7th. The next day, November 1st, Public Health announced the closure of a child care center at Levack Public School due to a confirmed case of COVID-19 that did not affect the school. Public Health did follow up with the close contacts, and before and after school programs there were suspended at that time, but we're happy to report the child care center reopened on November 9th. Also on November 3rd, a case was confirmed at Carl A. Nesbitt Public School in grade 4 class, who isolated up to and including November 11th. On November 4th, Public Health advised us of a confirmed case at Churchill Public School in the grade 6 class and the junior Ojibwe class, who were isolating up into including November 11th. The next day, a second confirmed case at Churchill, students in the grade 4 and 5 class, isolating up to November 12th, and the isolation period for the aforementioned junior Ojibwe class was extended to match November 12th. Later that day, a confirmed case was reported at RLBD Public School. Students in the JKSK class were asked to self-isolate up to November 11th. And again, I'll just remind you that direction for staff, again, for all these were based on immunization status. On November 7th, a couple of bus routes you see on your screen were required to self-isolate. And sometimes bus routes don't involve a case in our schools. We know we have shared bus routes with Consortium. On November 8th, Public Health advised us of 2 confirmed cases at Sudbury Secondary School. Staff and students in English, grade 9 English class, a grade 11 math class, a multi-grade learning strategies class were all self-isolating up to including November 12th. And on November 9th, the confirmed case was reported at Lowell Current in a grade 6-7 class, isolating up to and including November 15th. Also, a third case was reported at Sudbury Secondary School, and this was in a physical education and physical activities courses, isolating up to November 15th. And that same day, students from Espanola High School on the morning bus routes B903 were asked to get tested and self-isolate, and guidance was based on immunization status. Bus runs were canceled and resumed on November 22nd. As a result, that same day, students on 2 shared bus runs, the morning and afternoon bus routes for that V903 route, were asked to get tested and self-isolate up to including November 19th. Again, on November 10th, the case was reported at A.B. Ellis Public School. It was a grade 6 class, self-isolating up to November 19th. And 2 more cases were confirmed at Lowell Current Public School, the grade 2 class and the grade 4 class being self-isolating up to November 18th. In addition, the isolation period for the grade 6-7 class, which was dismissed on November 9th, was extended up until including November 19th. As a result, students on the morning and elementary bus runs and A969 were asked to get tested and isolate up to November 18th as well. Bus runs were canceled for that route and route A971. They'll resume on November 19th and November 22nd, respectively. On November 11th, a confirmed case was reported at Valley View Public School. Students in the SK1 class were asked to self-isolate up to including November 18th, and there was an effect on route N439 in the morning and N407 in the afternoon, requiring them to get tested and isolate up to November 18th. The bus runs were canceled and they resumed November 22nd, as November 19th is a PD day. Additionally, a case was also confirmed at Walden Public School. Students in the kindergarten class were asked to self-isolate up to November 15th, and students in the grade 6 class were also asked to self-isolate up to and including November 18th. Had an effect on bus routes L871, being asked to self-isolate up to November 18th, and they'll resume again on November 22nd. Also, on November 11th, another case was confirmed at Lansdowne. Students in the kindergarten class in the English program isolating up until including November 15th. And again, direction for staff was based on immunization. So heading into the weekend, more confirmed cases were reported that led to outbreaks being declared at 2 schools. First, on November 12th, the second confirmed case confirmed in the physical education class in Sudbury Secondary School. This class had already been dismissed on November 9th. As a result of the second confirmed case, Public Health declared an outbreak, and just as a reminder, an outbreak in the school is defined as 2 or more lab-confirmed COVID-19 cases in students or staff where at least 1 case could have been reasonably acquired their infection at the school. That same day, a confirmed case was reported at Redwood Acres School. Students in the grade 4 class were asked to self-isolate up to including November 15th. And again, staff based on their immunization. On November 13th, a second case was confirmed at Walden Public School. Students in the primary Ojibwe class isolating up to November 20th, and students in the grade 3-4 class isolating up to and including November 21st. Students on the afternoon bus runs, L854, isolating up to November 18th as a result, and they will resume again on November 22nd. On November 13th, 4 more cases confirmed at Redwood Acres. Students in the grade 2 class, students in the primary junior intensive support program, being asked to self-isolate up to November 19th. Also students in the kindergarten class, in the primary ISP class. The grade 1, 2, and grade 3 classes were self-isolating up to and including November 20th. Also students on those elementary bus runs that were affected N433, isolating up to November 19th and resuming on November 22nd. You see many buses are coming back online on November 22nd. Students on the morning bus runs with N418 and the afternoon bus run N429, self-isolating up to the 20th and coming back on the 22nd. And there was an impact on the before and after school program. They were self-isolating up to the 19th, and the program resumes once again on November 22nd. Later that day, Public Health declared an outbreak at Redwood Acres. On November 14th, students from Sudbury Secondary School on the secondary portion of the bus road L107 were isolating up to the 15th. That run was canceled but resumed on the 16th, which is today. And later that day, Public Health announced the closure of Child Care Center at Churchill Public School due to a confirmed case. And all participants in the program are required to self-isolate up to and including November 22nd, including those in the before and after. The center will reopen on November 23rd. Also, students from Minettville in the afternoon bus runs were asked to self-isolate up to and including November 21st and resuming on November 22nd. Yesterday, Public Health declared an outbreak on Route N705. This is the first outbreak on a bus since the pandemic began. Llewellyn Park secondary students on the afternoon transfer bus of Route L710 were self-isolating, not due to a case at the school, but due to a different case up until November 22nd. So on to November 15th. Public Health advised of another confirmed case at Redwood Acres. And that class was dismissed on November 13th. The isolation period for students in the grade 1-2 class is extended by 2 days, up until including the 22nd. Students on the morning elementary bus routes N413 and N415 isolating up to and including November 21st. And a confirmed case was reported at R.H. Murray Public School. Students and staff in the grade 2 and 3 class isolating up to and including the 19th. 2 more cases of COVID-19 were reported at Redwood Acres School today. There's currently 8 confirmed cases at Redwood. It remains open for in-person learning. The school will follow up with affected students to ensure continuity of learning. By direction of Public Health, students in the grade 1 class and students in the grade 5 class are required to self-isolate up until including November 22nd. We always remind families to continue to follow health and safety protocols and complete the school screening tool prior to school and work. And of course, we remind anyone who is sick to stay home and get well. You will recall in my last update to you, I indicated that self-isolation fell into 2 categories, based on immunization status or regardless of immunization status. And on Sunday, October 31st, Public Health advised us that this approach had been revised based on new guidance. The new guidance is applicable to staff, students, and families and took effect immediately. Guidance is now based on immunization status, as you can see from my previous reports, which means all high-risk close contacts that are fully immunized and have no symptoms are not required to self-isolate. They will be tested and self-monitor for symptoms for 10 days following the exposure, but they do not need to wait for their results before returning to work as long as they have no symptoms. And this is more consistent with the majority of the province. Public Health indicated to us that as we have throughout the pandemic, we take a reasonable, cautious approach, and as new information becomes available over the course of the pandemic, as more is known over time regarding the evolving science, and as these new situations become less novel and more common over time, we adjust our responses as appropriate. This will be very good for the long run, as your teachers who are fully immunized and asymptomatic will not be required to self-isolate. And that's from Public Health. On October 28th, the Ministry of Education advised us that schools will no longer be required to complete ministry attendance reporting in schools on a daily basis. Principals are only required to report when there's a positive case confirmed in their school. And we certainly welcome that, because this was a task that took a considerable amount of time, even if it wasn't a report. So it's a time saver for our very busy administrative teams. But when there is something reported, this data feeds into the provincial website, which lists the confirmed cases of COVID-19 in schools across the province. Of course, the most current information related to COVID-19 in Rainbow Schools is always found on the board website. I can't thank Nicole Charette enough and Jennifer Bada for their hard work to keep it up to date. Our COVID-19 advisory page is updated after our notification process. This includes contacting staff and students who must self-isolate, following up with a direction from public health in their letters, advising all staff in the school, and advising all parents and guardians of the school. It's a multi-step process depending on the extent of the impact, and each one can take several hours to complete. Just a reminder, public health does not notify boards when there's no action required, which basically means if someone contacts COVID and they were not in the presence of our staff or students during the time where they were infectious prior to learning they were positive, then there is no action required because they were not infectious to others and not of concern to the school. And that's how public health works with us. When we report cases in our schools, it's only when public health advises us that there is an impact. For example, a class may be required to self-isolate, or students on a bus. If we turn now away from COVID to the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test, as communicated in the 2021 B7 memo, students graduating in the 21-22 school year are exempted from the literacy graduation requirement. The literacy graduation requirement will be restored for students graduating in the 22-23 school year. EQA is providing a fall 2021 administration of the OSSLT in addition to a spring 2022. So we have two tests this year, one in the fall, one in the spring. The fall assessment is currently underway for our in-person learners. In the past, every student wrote the test on the same day across the province. The assessment window is now online, and it can be done in a window of time. It consists of 2 parts, and there's some discretion about when it's done as long as it fits within the window. Students in grade 10, 11, and 12 who are not graduating this year can either attempt the online assessment with 2 opportunities, fall or spring, or move directly into the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course. Students had an opportunity to participate in a practice test, and I can't thank our leadership of our program team and all of the staff involved for helping our students put their best foot forward in busy times to have a practice test to help them succeed this fall. Our schools are currently supporting our students with the writing of the fall assessment. With regard to rapid antigen testing, in regions of the province where there is a heightened risk of potential COVID-19 spread, local public health units can offer rapid antigen screening to select schools in their communities. Local medical officers of health will make that determination if rapid antigen screening will be made available in their region based on local needs. At this time, no Rainbow schools have been identified for rapid antigen screening, but if that changes, we will be sure to let you know. Public health sub-region districts convened a meeting on November 10th to discuss rapid antigen screening with school boards. The Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health representatives joined the conversation, and the focus of the meeting was to explore targeted COVID-19 rapid antigen screening in schools. As a result of the conversations, no decisions are made yet, but we will await any updates from public health. As you know, a vaccine will soon be available for 5 to 11-year-olds. Our local health unit is working very diligently on an outreach plan to distribute the vaccine. Public Health will also be launching a communications campaign to ensure parents and guardians have access to resources to make an informed decision. I will tell you that this year, with the secondary students being vaccinated, there are more elementary cases than secondary compared to last year when no one was vaccinated. So we are, of course, supporting students and families who make that choice to become vaccinated, because we do think it will further diminish the number of cases we experience in our schools. Having said that, we're very fortunate in Rainbow Schools to have a very dedicated team of administrators and staff whose ongoing excellence has been truly amazing. Thanks to their efforts, our students and families are surrounded by a very strong circle of care. And this is critical as we continue to work through the challenges of living and learning during a pandemic. We recognize that these challenging times have been all-consuming for school administrators and staff, and we want to ensure that we support them as well. At some points, we try to reduce a little bit of those additional burdens where possible, so our meetings with them will be as needed, and when they do occur, they are brief and to the point, so they can focus their energy on their staff and students in front of them. We continue to pause our pull-out professional development to keep our teachers in front of our students in class. And in addition, Human Resources has been working very hard not only to make the Thrive app work in partnership with the Information Services Department and to make sure that everybody's uploaded their vaccination status and attestations, but also to have a continuous intake model to address the provincial shortages. These aren't local, these are provincial shortages of available occasional staff in a variety of roles. Having said all this, we have many positives to celebrate. The vast majority of our students and staff are very, very happy to be back to face-to-face learning. Great things are happening each and every day in all of our schools, thanks to the leadership and hard work of our administration teams and our staff. Each opportunity for student and staff engagement outside the classroom is also greatly appreciated. As we stay the course, I am optimistic that over time, we will see some sense of a return to normal. In the meantime, we will continue to focus on establishing and strengthening great school cultures and climates. Our schools now know that this is the time for interventions, communication, and connection with students and parents and guardians to assist and support those who are struggling and perhaps not on track to be successful at this time. Also, on Wednesday, October 27th, Rainbow District School Board and Swakmuk Native Friendship Center officially signed a Memorandum of Understanding for the Swakmuk Native Alternative School. The purpose of this document is to strengthen our educational opportunities for Indigenous students within our city, ensure students have equitable access to all available pathways in completing their secondary school diploma, connect students with post-secondary education, apprenticeships, and/or the workplace, and to provide support services for our students to be ensuring success for all. Now from the world of sports. Some tremendous successes. The Llewellyn Park Secondary School Junior Boys garnered gold at the Ontario Federation of Secondary Schools Athletic Association Cross Country Running Championships held in Peterborough on November 6th. They became the first Sudbury team to win at provincials in cross-country running since Lockerbie Comsit in the late 90s. Also of note, Llewellyn's junior girls placed 5th, and the novice girls were 7th, senior boys 14th, and senior girls 14th, and novice boys 16th. So an all-around amazing showing by Llewellyn Park at the provincial level in cross-country running. In addition, tremendous news from Manitoulin. Manitoulin Secondary School junior girls matched the Llewellyn junior boys. The junior girls won the OFSA Cross Country Running Championship, also held at Peterborough at the same time. The girls finished with 102 points, which may or may not mean much to the person who is not involved in cross country. But if I were to tell you that they were 83 points ahead of the second place team, the second best team in the province, they were 83 points ahead of them, now you can get scope of how impressive their performance was. When the top 4 runners count, that means that each runner on the Manitoulin team beat the next best runner on their second best team in the entire province by 20 placings on average. It's incredible. So huge congratulations. I know that there's some long-standing traditions in both schools for excellence in cross-country running. Community coach Jerry Holiday, Llewellyn coach Colin Ward, and they certainly have people who help them as well that are not mentioned, but we want to recognize all the coaches for their hard work and the athletes for historic performance. So thank you to them and congratulations on their success. A couple other celebrations for us, because we do have to take time to pause and realize that there's so many good things going on. We can always get caught up in the negatives, but that positive energy is what keeps our students and staff and everything working and moving so well each day. So let's talk a little bit quickly about Llewellyn Park stepping up for families in developing countries by collecting gently used shoes for Souls Canada. It's a registered charitable organization, and they provide relief through the distribution of shoes and clothing around the world. A shoe collection bin has been placed in the main entrance, and staff and families are invited to donate to the campaign. Shoes are delivered to countries such as Haiti and Honduras, and they're cleaned and sold at markets. Profits from the sales are used to purchase land, build homes, provide food, clothing, medication, dental care, and education for children, all done by our amazing students and staff. Local clubs and organizations have also contributed in the Bell Shelf program more than $16,000 to Sudbury Secondary School to launch this new program that you may have seen on the news. It's helping students gain self-confidence and build resiliency. My Best Self, a youth mental health initiative, was developed by social worker Christine McInnes after a brainstorming session with school educators and administrators who were looking for a way to support students affected physically, socially, and emotionally by the pandemic. This program combines life skills coaching with experiential learning opportunities. My Best Self teaches students to learn by doing, with a focus on community outreach, emotions, healthy habits and relationships, nutrition, physical health, hygiene, positive motivation, perseverance, self-compassion, stress management, substance use, and team building. Sponsors include, and I will list them because we're so grateful, Canadian Tire Jumpstart Program, CTV Lions Children's Christmas Telethon, Greater Sudbury Police Services Chiefs Youth Initiative Donation Reserve Fund, the City of Greater Sudbury's GOVA Transit, the IODE City of Lakes Chapter, Sudbury Lions Club, Sudbury Shriners Club, and the YMCA of Northeastern Ontario. Funding was also provided from the school's special education program. Also, on November 15th, Lansdowne Public School received a generous $2,000 donation from the Kiwanis Club of Sudbury, and the funds will be used to support student initiatives. Just to let you know, and we will be meeting sooner than later as an ad hoc committee trustees, and I look forward to our time together. But just so you know, we continue to seek input on the creation of our new 5-year strategic plan, and some of you have been part of board committees that have had these meetings. The process has started with those committees, and I thank you so much for joining those meetings. We are getting great feedback and engagement from our participants, so a process is intending its achieved outcome. And in the next 2 weeks, I'll have you know that I'll be meeting with school councils by families of school. So that actually starts tomorrow night. I'll be meeting with 2 different families of school councils, and we continue to seek input to review and renew our vision, mission, values, and priorities. And of course, I'll be gathering that information to share with you as we meet to go through it. Also, hard work continues to be done on anti-bias, anti-racism, and allyship training. And that's the focus for our upcoming Professional Activity Day this Friday, November 19th. Our goal is to be reflective and strengthen our ability to be allies. The content is intended to increase our awareness of how others feel and the barriers that are faced. And at the end of the day, we want to build and continue to build equitable and inclusive cultures and promote safe places to work and learn so everyone feels a strong sense of belonging and maximizes their potential. I'll close my update with an important message. Continue to screen for COVID-19 as part of your morning routine. Didn't know that rhymed until I said it. We remind families that students who are sick must stay home and get well. Our individual and collective vigilance is essential to limiting the spread. And should you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time. Thank you for the opportunity to share my report.
Well, thank you very much, Director Bourget. That was certainly very inclusive presentation that you gave us. And of course, I like to just skip over the first stuff and concentrate on the last stuff. But of course, we have to be aware of both. So I have some hands up, Director Bourget. I think I saw Judy Cosmerly, Judy Hunda. Anita Gibson. So we'll start with Judy Cosmerly.
Thank you. That was an excellent presentation. And I want to thank you, Director Bourget, for sharing the positives as well as the negatives, or they're not negatives, but the hard stuff. It's nice to hear the positives that are going on in the board as well. I just have two questions. One, would you mind sharing the Ontario Parent Survey, either posting it on the website or sharing it as an email with trustees? I'd be very interested, as I'm sure some of the other trustees would be very interested in seeing the data that came out of that. And the other piece I wanted to ask, this ally training that is going to be done this Friday, as part of the PD training, is it possible for trustees to attend as well? And the reason I ask is there is so much emphasis right now on racism, on issues that have been going on with different boards, in terms of gender, in terms of race. If it wouldn't be possible for us to attend the training that you've got on Friday, maybe this is a good opportunity somewhere along the line to offer some training here, only because this has become such a large topic. And I think if we want to be the best that we can be to support the board, it would be helpful for trustees to receive some type of training as well.
Through you, Madam Chair, a couple of quick things. I'll be very happy to share the Ontario Parent Survey, and that will be in your mailbox after the meeting. And thank you for acknowledging the importance of being positive. You know, we're not alone. All of our communities across the province are experiencing some degree of hardship or challenge in all areas, in all sectors. Education is not only the one being affected by COVID, but we have to be real and acknowledge our challenges, but we also have to stay positive, work together, support each other, and be kind. And you know what, when we do that, it makes the challenges manageable. So I appreciate all of your kindness and support of our schools and our administrators and executive council, because everyone's working very hard, always on the collective behalf of students. So thank you for your continued support and positivity as a board, because it makes a tremendous difference. And I can't thank you all enough for that. With regard to the allyship training, I will look into that for you. We have a very strong equity team, and our PD group has been working very hard, and I'll see if logistically that's possible, but if not, we'll certainly take that into account, and I'll provide you an update with that as well. It is coming up soon, but you'll have an answer to that. If it's possible, we will definitely let you know. If it's not, we will note your desire to engage, and we will make other arrangements to make that possible at some point. Okay, so it'll just allow me a bit of time to look into that, but thank you for your comments, your support, and your questions.
Thank you very much, Trustee Cosmerly. Trustee Hunda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't really have my hand up, but I am. It's fine, because I had exactly the same questions that Trustee Cosmerly had. I too want to. We need to know the realities, and I appreciate that. And it was a very inclusive report, very, very well done, Bruce, and I appreciate it. The reality is, of course, the big negative is how COVID continues to have such an impact in this community. How we all have to do our little bit to make sure that we poke and prod and kindly steer those over to being vaccinated. We all look forward to when our younger ones can get vaccinated, and hopefully we'll see that'll have a major impact. I appreciate that you are keeping us up to date on the realities. Busing is, I don't envy Renee and her crew in any way, shape, or form having to, the job that they have to do every day. My heart goes out to parents that will be struggling when they get the news last minute that the bus is canceled. They either have to find a way, or they have to isolate and they have to find babysitters. But I think overall, as a board, I think we're doing really well, and I thank you and our staff for that. But I also want to thank you for not forgetting the positive, because that the accomplishments that you presented today are awesome. I know we probably read about them, but it's so nice for it to be acknowledged, I believe, at the board level by all of our trustees. And I too was going to ask for the parent survey. And as far as the presentation, the PD presentation, at another time, perhaps when we're not so our staff isn't so overwhelmed. I think it's important to go back. We did many years ago to have like PD for trustees as well. I think that I echo Judy's request that I don't want to give our staff right now any extra work. I understand that, but this is, I think, certain huge issues like this, I think that it is great to keep in mind that trustees could use some PD in certain areas too that are having a big impact on our students and our families in the world that we're living in. So I think that this is maybe a discussion that can come up in our ad hoc committee, towards as we move on. Anyway, thank you very much, Bruce. As always, very concise, very wonderful, and very complete. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Hunda. I have Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Dewar, and thank you, Director Bourget, for your report and for the poetry at the end. I enjoyed that. I'm a big poetry fan, so that was probably my favorite part. You're a poet and you didn't know it. I think that's how it goes. Anyway, on to my question, which is about, you mentioned the OSSLT, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard you say that it's only being offered to in-person learners for the fall session. I'm just wondering if there's going to be any opportunity for remote learners to either take the online exam or complete the booklet, if there's going to be any availability for them this year, either now or in the spring.
At this point for the fall, it's not an option. There are some challenges with not being face-to-face to deliver it, but we will look at what it may or may not be possible. I can't make any promises about the spring, but we will look to see what may or not happen in that regard. But Trustee Gibson, I know that it's such a huge undertaking and there are some technical issues. You'll know that the shift online a few years ago didn't go terribly well for the province in that initiative. Trustees may recall that. So we've tried to start with something we knew we could be very successful at, and certainly we're fully engaged in that, but we will look at opportunities, the good opportunities, that there's two chances this year, but I'm uncertain how things will unfold for the spring, but for the time being, it certainly is a face-to-face initiative, and I hope you understand.
Thank you.
And I will say thank you for your comments about my poetry, but it was completely unintentional. I'd love to take credit for being that creative, but you know, when in doubt, we're going to give Nicole some credit for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to move on now to new business. Oh, sorry, Margaret, I didn't see your hand. I hope everybody else. Is there anybody else? While I'm looking as close as I can. Okay, Margaret, Trustee Stringer, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Director Bourget. Thank you as well for that concise and detailed report, Bruce. When I look at the number of situations our schools and our busing consortium are dealing with, and it, you know, being declared as Greater Sudbury is the hotspot in the province, it seems like this would be the exact situation in which rapid antigen testing would be hugely beneficial for our schools that are in especially those in outbreak. I'm just wondering if you had mentioned that Public Health Sudbury is currently, I guess, considering that. Can you give us any more information about that? Are they, or what the reasons might be for having this not already in place for the schools that are in outbreak?
Certainly, it is a decision by Public Health. We are certainly at the table in discussion, as is the Ministry of Education. At this point, there is some questions a little bit about how the test would be administered and what type of reporting responsibilities there are, who would do that reporting, and what burdens that would cause on which groups of staff at Public Health and or schools, because there's also a federal component to the funding, and some of their reporting requirements. I haven't seen them, but I've heard that they might be a little bit excessive at this time, and I'm not judging, I'm just sharing the feedback I've heard. So they want to make sure that it is not something that is an untenable situation that they cannot carry out to the fullest extent and be compliant with the regulations or rules that come with it. So there's some investigation going on in that piece, but there's a general consensus that, you know, if it can be done in a way that helps prevent any spread, and it is something that the requirements are such that it's operational, we can make it operational, then there's strong consideration for that. It's just a relatively new piece, and there's been some experimentation in other parts of the province, and I guess they're looking right now at what might be the best practice based on some other areas. So we continue to be at the table each week to talk, and once Public Health has some more information for us, we're looking at it, and certainly if it's something that works for all parties, it's going to be strongly considered, and I will continue to provide any updates in advance of our next meeting. If I hear anything, you'll definitely know. But we are working with other partners, and we hope to find a model and seek consensus so we can move forward. So I'll be happy to share when we have more details, certainly.
Thank you for that, Director Berger. Madam Chair, just a supplemental comment, please.
Yes.
I must say that I have not stopped smiling when I think about the results of our athletes from Northern Ontario at Officer Cross Country. I'm just so excited for all of them. And, you know, the representation across our whole region was very well done. So bravo.
Thank you. We're hoping to have a little surprise for you next time we meet. I'll leave that as some positive foreshadowing. Not quite poetic, but foreshadowing. So some English teachers may be surprised at our literacy prowess here.
Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Trustee Stringer, and of course, Director Bourget. Am I okay to move on here now? See, I currently on my screen shows only Margaret, and everybody else is has just the doesn't have the camera showing. But I have also been having some difficulties with my technology here, so we'll go on as best we can. Please forgive me, and don't be afraid to use the hand or the chat. New business, honorarium for trustees, 2021-2022. And I'm going to call on Superintendent Bazinet to speak to us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report is in the backup that was sent to all trustees. It shows the detailed calculation of the honoraria, which will take effect next month. The base amount has not changed. It remains the same. The only adjustment is a slight downward adjustment as it relates to the enrollment change from last year to this year, and that is also detailed on the report. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Thank you. We'll move on to the, pardon me, to the trustee expenditures, and that would be your, I would turn it back to Superintendent Bazinet, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report is contained in the backup. It is the trustee expenses for the fiscal year, the prior fiscal year that ended August 31st of 2021. It is the same format as previous years. Elected trustees and student trustee are listed on the left-hand side, and across the top are the various categories that detail all expenses incurred for the prior fiscal year. The grand total of $101,547 is well within the funding that is received through the GSN funding for school board governance expenses. So once again, all details are shown, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. Yes, you just mentioned, through you to Superintendent Bazinet, my apologies. Superintendent Bazinet, you just mentioned that it's well within the amount provided. Do you have a rough figure of what is provided? I'm just curious how much we're under.
Yes, the GSNs are in the order of approximately $132,000 per year.
Thank you. And supplementary, if I may, I just wanted to confirm with my expenses, there's an amount there listed under internet. Is that for a required advertisement, I believe, in the yellow pages? Is that what that amount is for?
Yes, you are correct. That is the amount for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Well, here I would thought somebody would come up with a suggestion for a big raise. Silence. Okay, we'll move on. Insurance renewal. Call on Superintendent Bazinet, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, this is an annual report that comes to the board. And OSBI, which is the Ontario School Board Insurance Exchange, as stated in the motion, it provides for all of our liability, property, crime, and fleet automobile insurance. And the details break down the various categories, including the limits in terms of what we're covered for, as well as the various deductibles. When we look at the overall cost of $283,550, it is less than $1,000 more than what we paid last year. So once again, this insurance exchange is essentially cooperative that is owned by the school boards. All school boards participate, and therefore it is specifically geared to our operations within a school board environment. And once again, included in the package, we've also included the rebate that we are receiving for the current year. And once again, whenever there is essentially a surplus within the operating context of the exchange, they are on an annual basis providing the prorated premium refund to all the boards that are participating. So once again, when we look, or if we were to compare to last year's report, we see that it's very consistent in the approach. And as previously mentioned, the overall amount has increased by less than $1,000 for the upcoming 2022 calendar year. So once again, I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Chair Dewar, have my hand up.
I see Trustee Morrison.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dina.
Very brief question through you, Madam Chair, to Superintendent Bazinet. Dennis, it's been a number of years since we joined this exchange for insurance. And it reminds me of the other one we've been involved with utilities and electricity as well. I assume that as our superintendent of business, you can confirm that this was a good decision. Over the course that we've been involved in the exchange, we've actually ended up saving some money.
Well, without a doubt, I think just by virtue of all school boards now being members of OSBI, and typically everyone signs for a 5-year period at a time, so it's in increments of 5 years. They have expanded the types of coverage for us, as well as come up with some innovative costing methodology by which we're essentially self-insured collectively across all school boards, because the insurance market was skyrocketing in terms of premium costs when we had to get some of the coverage from external providers. So without a doubt, it continues to be a valuable service to all boards, and they have some excellent programs that we participate in, one of which I'll just provide a little bit of detail. It's called the HELP, H-E-L-P, for the Human Element Loss Prevention Program. And essentially they come in and they do an assessment of our processes, procedures, more so as it relates to our facilities and how we do our checks in terms of audits of our own buildings, how we record all of the snow clearing and sanding that our custodial staff are doing on a daily basis during the winter months. And they give an overall rating to the school boards, and then from there you know where you should be focusing your attention. And all of this relates to the fact that the total number of claims has been reduced over the years for all the school boards as well. So the number of claims that are being filed, and when I say claims, I mean whenever the school boards are being served with litigation from someone in the public, whether it's a parent or someone else who just used our facility, and whether you had a slip and fall. So it's been a good experience for all boards, and I think the fact that it's strictly focused on our business is why it's been so successful.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you very much, Trustee Morrison. I'm going to put the motion on the floor, and then you have an opportunity for more questions. Motion that the 2022 renewal of insurance for liability, property, crime, and fleet automobile with the Ontario School Boards Insurance Exchange for $283,550.84 be approved. Moved by Trustee Hunda, seconded by Trustee Clement. Any further questions before I call the vote? I don't see anybody's hand, but then I don't see everybody. Just as long as you know. Poll vote, Director Bourget.
Trustee Clement,
In favor?
Trustee Dewar,
In favor?
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor.
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean,
In favor.
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
All in favor, Madam Chair.
The motion is carried. Budget development process. We're going to call on Superintendent Bazinet again. However, I'll put the motion on the floor ahead of time this time. Motion that the 2022-2023, oh my goodness, budget development process be approved. Moved by, and I can see no faces. So somebody's going to have to show me by.
I'll move it, Trustee Gibson.
Moved by Trustee Gibson. Thank you. That's a good idea. And seconded by
I'll second Dina.
Trustee Morrison. Thank you very much. I'm definitely having technical difficulties here, but we're okay. I'm going to call on Superintendent Bazinet to tell us all about the budget development process.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Essentially, this comes to you annually in November, and essentially it is triggering the budget process, and this time it's for the process for the fiscal year that is beginning September of 2022. So once again, we will follow our established practices whereby we will be sending out the invitation to receive input as soon as the board motion is approved tonight, hopefully. And therefore, we would receive that input by the end of January. And we will then formulate and bring that as part of our deliberations when the GSNs are released, which is typically end of March. And we have the meetings internally with, of course, all of the senior team. We receive all of the input from all of the operating departments, from the managers. And our goal is, once again, if all the timing does align, that we would be bringing the overview of the draft at the May 24th, 2022 board meeting. And that would trigger one of several meetings where we could have that review and discussion before the budget is due to the ministry, which is essentially the end of June, early July of 2022. So there's no change in our approach. It is the time of year, I just want to make the comment, where all of our 3 financial cycles are actually overlapping. We are working on the year end that ended August 31st of 2021, so the prior year fiscal year. We're working on the revised budget, which is due to the ministry next month, and typically from there we bring it to the board in January as an update. And then of course we are beginning our process for the budget for September of 2022, which gets into full swing really once we get into the February and March period as well. So that summarizes our approach, and I'd be, once again, happy to answer any questions.
I don't see any hands up. So I will ask for a poll vote. Director Bourget,
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Dewar,
in favor?
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor?
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean,
In favor.
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao,
In favor.
all in favor.
No mic, Doreen. Your mic.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Trustee Hunda. So requests for leave of absence. Motion that Trustee Linda Dubosky be granted a leave of absence from the November 16th, 2021 board meeting. Moved by, can't see anybody.
I can move it, Trustee Cosmerly.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmerly, seconded by Trustee Stringer. Director Bourget,
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Dewar,
in favor?
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor?
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean,
In favor.
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao,
In favor.
all in favor, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The motion is carried. So Director Bourget, do you have any remarks at this time?
I will just share a few brief things. I did have a lengthy report, but I will say that with the conclusion of the fall sports season, I just wanted, we've recognized several groups of staff for all their excellence. There'd be office supervisors, our staff, or our school administrators. And I'd just like to take a moment right now to thank all of those staff or student, community members, anyone who volunteers their time in our schools to enhance the opportunities for our students to have experiences through any type of extracurricular activities. And could be art, music, robotics, law clubs, reach for the top, mock trial, drama, or athletics, and many, many more. Those are just to name a few. But it does remind us at this time in the year, and you see the tremendous accomplishments of our students, that comes because someone took the time and had the heart and the energy to dedicate and pour, and sometimes over years. Some of these accomplishments aren't just happened since September. What happened for Manitoulin junior girls or the Llewellyn junior boys, those are years of hard work. Years of motivation and guidance by volunteers, whether they be staff or community members who take their time to help enhance students' lives. So I wanted to say thank you, not only for athletics, but for any sport club, whether they're OFSA competitors or they're working together in groups in schools. Because students appreciate your time, and they appreciate your expertise, and parents and guardians appreciate the tremendously positive impact that this has had on their child's physical or mental well-being. So, to those difference makers who volunteer their time, thank you. You build memories, you build character, skills, fitness, resilience, and success, just to name a few. The value of extracurricular activities cannot be questioned or measured. And I thank our volunteers, our staff, and you, our trustees, for your continuous support of extracurriculars and your continuous support of all the staff of the board. Thank you for your advocacy for students, to everybody involved in supporting extracurricular activities for our students. And that would be it for tonight. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Director Bourget. OPSPA Director Trustee Clement, did you have something you would like to share? Your microphone is not on.
Oh, I thought I had. Thank you, Madam Chair. Either I turned it off or I don't know. Anyways, our next meeting for the Board of Directors, we had taken a vote earlier on in the year about when we would meet, and we figured November would be our first meeting socially, and that didn't turn out. So we'll be visual again November 26th, 27th. And I also heard that the PES will also be virtual. So things aren't changing too much. And then when I hear a report from Director Bourget, it is saddening that it's getting worse in some cases. But then to hear about the sports end of it, we don't see that too much of that sometimes, but to hear all the good news that things are still carrying on is really good news. I also like to thank the Executive Council. OSPA sent us a survey regarding the 2022-23 grants for student needs. And when we looked at the questions, they were definitely above our pay grade. And I asked Heather to hand it out. I don't know who filled it out, but they sent it back to me. And the questions were answered in my favorite form, the Coles Notes forms. And I typed them out, and they have been sent out to OSPA. So I just want to thank the staff for that. I know you're very busy, and they took the time to do that. So thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you very much, Trustee Clement. Student Trustee Yao, do you have a report or anything you'd like to say?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I guess I can talk a little bit about what's going on in the Senate, and I guess I could talk about as well as my attendance at the fall general meeting at OSTECO. So the Student Senate put together basically an informational Remembrance Day post on our Instagram page. So it talked about why do we wear a poppy, why do we take a moment of silence, Indigenous contributions, and it was overall a great success. We also talked about the Stand Up Speak Out conference a little bit. We're all super excited to start planning. There was ideas buzzing everywhere. And we're going to be meeting again December 6th to discuss this further. But more about the fall general meeting at Ostaco. So it was in Toronto. It was held in person. That was really, really exciting from November 4th to November 7th. It was overall such an amazing experience to get to know and talk with student trustees from like all over the province. And then we got to break up into our little groups. So as like the regional representative for the Northern Public Board Council Cabinet, I was able to sit alongside the Golden Horseshoe regional representative, and we brought all the student trustees from our region together and talked about the differences between our regions, the similarities, how we're experiencing COVID differently. And it was overall just like really, really interesting, especially since we're all learning in different semester systems as well. It was really cool to see how people are struggling with like octomesters, quadmesters, and modified. We also talked about like academic barriers, menstrual equity, and those are just the things off the top of my head. Then one of the days we also got to talk more about our working groups. So as the co-chair for the Equity and Inclusion Working Group, I was able to get some members, and we're finally get to doing some of the initiatives that I have planned for the year. We also really got into some like super interesting discussions. So we talked about like racism, homophobia, discrimination, and like inequality within schools and school boards. And it's just really interesting to see like all these different experiences that they had. And we just talked about how as student trustees and as a working group, how can we help to change this? But yeah, overall, it was like such an incredible experience. And I truly learned a lot. And, you know, thank you all for like giving me the opportunity to be able to attend this conference. But yeah, that's basically what happened for me. If you guys have any questions about FGM as well, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Are there any questions?
I had my hand up, Doreen.
Oh, I can't see. Go ahead, please, Trustee Hunda.
I don't have any questions. I just want to tell you what a great report. Thank you, Michael. I'm so incredibly pleased that you enjoyed your conference. Thank you for being involved. It's just amazing that the student trustees from Rainbow Board are so willing to step up to the plate and be a leader at the provincial level. And I just still new for you, but excellent report. You're doing really well, bud. Thanks.
So thank you very much, Trustee Hunda. And yes, let me add my thanks to both Trustee Clement and Student Trustee Michael for their reports. So trustees' remarks. I'm going to see if there's any hands up, which I don't see, but would you speak out, please, if there is something you wish to say? Okay, sorry, okay. We'll move on to chairperson's remarks. Parents, guardians, and students in grades 7 and 8 are invited to tune in to a special presentation on Eastlink Community TV, Channel 10, entitled Making the Transition, Finding Your Way from Grade 8 to Grade 9. Transitioning from elementary to secondary is an important milestone in a young person's life. So with this presentation, we hope to provide students with information to make informed decisions that will help shape their future. Topics being discussed include how to read timetables, how to choose courses, how to ease into a new school environment, what resources are available, and also the skills students need to be successful. I invite everyone, but especially the students and parents and guardians, to circle their calendars as the presentation will air on Monday, November the 22nd, and again on Monday, November the 29th at 8 p.m. So that's the 22nd and the 29th at 8 p.m. In addition to learning the path from grade 8 to grade 9, students will discover the many exciting opportunities that await them in grade 9 in Rainbow Schools by visiting our virtual secondary school information nights. These can be accessed from school websites on the following dates, and they are so important that I'm going to take the time to read them out to you. Espanola High School, Thursday, November 25th. Lockerbie Composite, Wednesday, December the 1st. Lively District Secondary School, Thursday, December the 9th. Chelmsford Valley District Composite School, Tuesday, January the 11th. Sudbury Secondary School, Thursday, January 13th. Llewellyn Park Secondary School, Thursday, January 13th. Manitoulin Secondary School, Thursday, February the 10th. LaSalle Secondary School, Wednesday, February the 16th. And Confederation Secondary School, Thursday, February the 17th. Please be sure to visit rainbowschools.ca for all of the details for these very special evenings to add a lot of knowledge to your kit to look at grade 9s. Not to be outdone at the secondary level in January 2022. Kindergarten information nights will also be virtual. I invite you to circle your calendars as follows. Schools offering the English program will post a presentation on school websites on Tuesday, January the 11th at 5:30. Schools offering French immersion will post theirs on Thursday, January 13th at 5:30. And schools that offer both English and French immersion will post their presentations on Thursday, January 13th. These are found on the schools' websites, and other good news stories can be found on the schools' websites. So take a moment once a week or so and check in to see what's being done. It's amazing. Once again, if you visit rainbowschools.ca for details, it will have a complete schedule. Excuse me. The author of the thought for the month is unknown to me, but in the chaos of today's life, we often lament over lost opportunities. Excuse me. And as such, it might be helpful to recall the following quote: while it may be true that the early bird gets the worm, sometimes it's wise to remember that the second mouse is the one that gets the cheese. Thank you, and please stay safe. Take a look briefly at the information and proposals that have attached to your agendas. We have reports from officials, the First Nations Advisory Committee minutes and the SEAC committee minutes are both posted. And our future meetings. Things are good. We've got lots of future meetings and lots of opportunities to get to know more of our people who are volunteers and serve on these committees. So if you take a moment, take a look at those dates and times, and please add them to your calendar.
Has her hand up.
Madam Chair, just one comment about equity and inclusive education. We've made a decision at our last meeting to meet monthly rather than 4 times a year. So the next Equity and Inclusive Education Committee meeting will be held on December the 2nd.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you for that reminder. And with that, I wish you best. Stay safe. Motion that we do now adjourn. Moved by Trustee St. Jean, seconded by Trustee Stringer. And we'll just wave to close off and leave.